Hi class, this is Mr. Watlington and welcome to week four of our class, CIS 265. Hope everybody is taking care of yourselves, whether you're sheltering in place or whatever you may need to do to take care of your family, your friends, your loved ones. Please be safe. And also remember that, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and a sound mind. All right, this week we are in Excel. Love Excel. This is a very, very, very powerful tool. Why? Because it really works on that accounting thing and understanding how to build spreadsheets. It reminds me of a scripture in Luke chapter 14, verse 28. It says, suppose one of you want to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost? Won't you count up the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? It's about counting up the cost, just like with salvation. Many things we do in life deals with counting up costs, and Excel is a powerful tool to help you learn how to count up the cost and how to do estimates, do many things. Now, like we have talked about before, Excel is no different. Really, the thing of understanding how to navigate in any Windows tool is knowing the tabs, the ribbons, the groups, and the commands. But when we get into Excel, we dive a little bit deeper because spreadsheets really are they're built and based on what used to be these books called accounting ledgers. And if you've ever seen one of these old ledgers, it was just based on rows, columns, cells, and your formulas. Like I say, now we've already covered these in our Microsoft Word Unit 1, Unit 2, of all the different commands, the additional commands, the tabs, the ribbons, the groups, and those things. So we're not going to get into that. But what we do want to look at with Excel is what we call the worksheet or the workbook. If you look at a workbook, this entire thing is the workbook. Now within the workbook, we have worksheets, and each of these tabs along the bottom that says sheet, and we can add multiple worksheets to a workbook. Now when we're navigating around a workbook, the thing you have to, just like the ledger books, is to look at first is what we call a column. If you look across the top, you see this, they're all labeled with letters, A through, and it just keeps going almost to infinity, but it's not like AAA, WWW, not the wrestling, but just WW. But anything that's vertical is a column. Now, going horizontal and down the sides, that's where you see we have numbers. 1, and it just goes, way, way down, just keeps going. So these are our rows, okay? We have columns, vertical, rows, horizontal, and where a column and a row intersects, that's where we have a cell. And that's really where we do a lot of our work, is within a cell. Now also, if you want to be able to recognize or identify the cell that you're in, up in the top corner, that's our name box. And the name box is what tells you what cell we're in. For instance, where we're at right now with this intersection of this row and this column is column B, row 4, and you see that's how it's annotated as B4. So that is the name of that cell. Now, like I said, with Excel, it's really the power of Excel is formulas, right? And so up here at the top, this is our formula bar. That's where we will write formulas. And that's where you'll see your formula as you're creating it. So again, columns, rows, cells, the name box, and formulas. And like I've already discussed, we had the worksheets. And you can have multiple worksheets along the bottom of your Excel spreadsheet. Now, I will tell you, probably one of the most important things to know about Excel is how to navigate the cursors. There's at least 5 different types of cursors. And if you have problems navigating with Excel, it's probably because you may not have been taught the different types of cursors. And here's what I mean, because depending on where you are in the worksheet, in the workbook, you're going to see a different cursor style. This first one is what we call the select mode cursor. And what this cursor mode is, when it's the big plus, it looks like, the little things that used to be on my son's Game Boy, but any Nintendo game. But what that cursor does in the select mode is that you can click and drag any row, any header, any column. And if you want to select that entire column or that entire row, that's in that mode. Now, what the click and drag is, let's say if I have something within a cell, and I want to cut and paste it, or I want to drag that. That's when you see the cursor, when you move over that cell, the cursor changes to this. And with that, now I can click my mouse and I can drag the contents of that cell anywhere, or likewise, I can replicate it multiple times when my mouse is in that active cell. Okay, the autofill. This is also a very powerful tool within Excel. This is how you can autofill. What I mean by that, let's say you have January in a cell. You just type the word January, and you want it to have all 12 months. Well, if you just, when you see the cursor change to this, when you're right there at a corner, that's when you can drag and it will autofill every cell below that with the next preceding month: January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, all the way down to December. That is the autofill. Or you can take it either way. You can drag it across horizontally to fill. You can drag it down vertically to where it will autofill. It'll autofill numbers. It'll autofill days of the week. It'll autofill many things, alphabets, many things it will autofill. Now the resizing, this is great, and you're going to see that when you put your cursor right on the middle of a line of a row or a column. Now, if you want to make a row or a column wider, and you can go up to the top where that column or row starts, and you'll see the cursor change to look like this. And when you see that, that's when you can make the row or column wider. You can make it narrow. Now, the last one is what they call the I-beam cursor. And that appears when you're in an area where you can type text. So basically, it's what's called your insertion point. So if you drag over a cell, you can click in that cell and you'll see it change to this. And now you know you can input text into that cell. So like I say, understanding your different cursors, that's huge within Excel. Take some time, familiarize yourself with that if you haven't already. But I will tell you, the power of Excel is in formulas. That is really the power of understanding Excel. And formulas, there are just hundreds and thousands and different variants of formulas. Now, what is a formula? Glad you asked that question. I am glad you asked that question. Somebody out there in, I don't know, it's not like you're in California somewhere, Southern California, asked that question. Really, all a formula is a mathematical expression. It's just an expression that we use to make comparisons. We can do many things with a mathematical expression. Now, if you want to add a formula, if you're in a cell and you click on that cell, really all you have to do is hit any mathematical operator. And what do I mean by that? It could be a plus sign, a minus sign, a division sign, multiplication sign. But the one that we use the most often is the equal sign. And it's a good habit to get into using that equal sign, because that way, when you go back and relook at, when you're looking at your formulas, if you have to do any troubleshooting, updating, then you know that all your formulas start with the equal sign. But you can use any mathematical operator. Now, you also have to be careful, because when Excel sees any mathematical operator as the first character in a cell, it's going to automatically think that everything follows is going to be a formula. So if you're just trying to type text, then you don't want to start the text with a dash, because that dash is going to appear to be a minus sign, and Excel is going to go, hey, you're getting ready to input a formula. So just something to remember about formulas. Like I say, and when you're using your formulas, you want to use the reference location of the cell. For instance, here's an example. This is very elementary. This is a very basic formulas. Okay, if you see, I have an array of cells. So I've got 20 in A1, 300 in B1, 50 in C1, and so on. So if I want to make a formula to add A1 plus A2, and I want to get that answer there, here's what I would do. Equals, that tells Excel we're going to go into the formula mode, and I will put A1, which is the reference location of what I want to add, plus A2. And when I hit enter, that's going to give me what? 30. You're exactly right. So you can use that. And that is the basic way that a formula works. And then that I will have embedded that formula into A3, into that cell, whether it's subtraction or whether it's multiplication or whether it's division. So here, for instance, I want to divide the factor the value that's in D1, which is 60, by the value that's in A2. If I look at A2, it is 10, right? So D1 divided by A2, like I say, so if I do that, and that the answer would come out to be what? You got it, 6. So that is how we ingrain formulas into Excel. Now, there are many, many different categories of formulas, okay? If you look at Excel, if you go into the ribbon, you're going to see that you got financial formulas, logical formulas, text, data, and date and time formulas, lookup, mathematical, statistical formulas, many, many, many more. Now, here's what I want to do, and this may be a little advanced for some of you guys, but hopefully it will pique your interest, because you can do so many things with formulas. I'm just going to walk through some of these categories, and I pulled just one formula out of these categories. There's hundreds of formulas within all of these categories, but we're going to walk through some of those, and if nothing else, maybe to pique your interest on how you can do a lot of things within Excel. For instance, let's look at the financial category. The formula I've used here is what we call time value of money, or FW, future value. All right, let's say, all right, you want to invest $100 in, you invested $100 in 2016, and you made the payments yearly, interest rate of 10%, that's compounded annually. What would be the value of that money today in 2020? What would be the future value? That would be future value because you invested it 4 years ago. Now, some things you have to remember is what formula to use. Now, this FV formula right here, I know this stuff may look like Greek, but it's not. So FV, which is, then you're going to take the rate, the number of periods, the payment, the present value, and the type. What that type is, that 0 and 1, is 0. If you put a 0 there, that type is going to be the beginning of the period. You put a 1, it's going to be the end of the interest rate of the period. So that's what each of those. So now here's what I did. I built a little table, and I just put some values in here. So the rate, 10%, right? Okay. And let's say our number of periods, 4, because from 2016 to now is 4 years. The payment is done annually, once a year. The present value is $100. That's what I started with, was $100. And I put a type 1, which is that it's going to pay at the end of the period. So if you see, all I did with my formula was future value C2, C3, C4, C5, C6. So basically, each of those factors are being pulled here from the data that's in the cells of this table. So now when I hit enter, guess what it gives me? $141.30. So it does the future value calculation right there for us automatically. So if I invested $100 at 10% 4 years ago, that's interest compounded annually, I would today have $141.30. More money than I would have had if I had put it in the stock market right now, because it has dropped tremendously thanks to COVID-19. So now, but you see how the power of this formula. And I don't know if what your major, you may be a financial expert and you're laughing at this right now going, ha, 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 I can do that and more. But I just want to give everybody an example of how the power of a financial formula can work. You can use this for interest rates, for future value of money, for present value of money, rate of return. There's formulas in it to do all these things. All right, let's take a look at another one. This is a logical formula. When we say logical, that things like if then, yes, no, where it's a decision-making formula. Now, this one is where I'm going to use the if, and then. All right, let's say if the passing grade for an exam is 70%. Now we want to automatically be able to fill a cell with pass or fail. What does that mean? Let me show you. All right, so here's a test, right? Here's some students took a test. This is their scores. Now, I want to be able to show their results. Did they pass or did they fail? And if you look at this, my formula, that's what I did. I said, let's just kind of walk through this, because this is a good one to just walk through easily as well. I'm using that if. Start with equal, so that way Excel knows it's a formula. If C2, like I said, I wrote the formula first here, right here. That's where I'm at right now. So if C2 is greater than or equal to 70, then it's going to print, and that's what that says right here. It's going to print pass. Now, set comma, and then fail. What that automatically tells the formula that if it's less than 70, it's going to print fail. If it's greater than or equal to 70, it'll print pass. And now you see this individual score, Anna, she has 95. 95 is greater than 70, so it printed pass. Now what I did, once I wrote that formula one time, and I used my little cursor trick so that we talked about earlier, and I grabbed it right here in the corner, and I drug, which means down, and I copied that formula in all of those cells. So now you see Richard, he made a 69, and it automatically populated that with fail. Nathan, 88, populated with pass. Paula, she made a 50. I don't know what's going on with Paula, and a fail. Christine made 100 pass. So you see, it automatically did this. Now, there's some other things we can do. Since I kind of got this here, let's talk about, I'm just going to take a little quick detour. We're going to talk about, conditional formatting. I mean, that works, but we can pretty this up a little bit, okay? Because what conditional formatting that allows you to do is now format your document based on conditions. Because what I want to be able to show, I want to automatically make some colors in my Excel. So anything above 70, I want it to be green. Anything below 70, anyone who made below 70, I want it to show up red. So just, yes, blood red, just boom, boom, like a heart beating, squirting blood out of. Okay, so how do we do that? We use conditional formatting. Now this is what it would look like. So it would automatically paint green, format green, anybody who made over 70. So we see Anna and Nathan and Christina, they all passed over 70, and theirs turned green. Now we got an alert with Richard and Paula, theirs turned red. So how did we do that? I'm going to kind of walk you through this. So we started with, if you go up, here to the top, conditional formatting. That's where you start. Now, if you have a Mac, if you're using a Mac computer and you're using Microsoft products for Mac, you're going to look like this. I did this with a Mac. If you got Windows, these functions are still there. They are still there, but you may not see them as readily as you would with or in the same locations you would if you have a Mac computer. So I'm using a Mac. So I would click on conditional formatting. And what conditional formatting is going to give me this. It's going to give me a series of drop downs, okay? This first drop down, you see all these things. And I said I wanted to highlight cell rules. And I wanted to then use greater than. So less than, so it gives you many choices that you can choose from. Greater than, less than, or you can make you can customize it and build your own. So what I did, I said, all right, the first one I clicked on greater than. And I just basically followed the prompts and filled it in. So that if a cell is greater than 70%, then it's going to format the cell with green. A green background with green text. Once I did that, then I did the second one. I did the exact same thing, but this time I used less than. So if a cell over here is less than 70, same thing. And then I said I wanted to format it where it's red with red text. And then I did the same thing. Once I formatted one cell, then I used my little mouse thing, and I drug it down and I formatted all of them. So that's how I was able to get those colors in those cells, just by using conditional formatting. All right, now let's move on. Let's talk about text formulas. Now this is, there are so many things you can do with text formulas, especially when you're working with large data sets that have a lot of things like names, last name, first name. Let me give you an example. Let's automatically combine the last name and the first name from two columns into a single column. And here's what I mean. How many times you see spreadsheets and it has a column for last name, then it has another column for first name. But you want to be able to download these and use it for a mailing address. But you can't do that easily because they're in two different columns. So what I want to be able to do now, why can't I take that first name and last name and combine them into one column? Now I could manually do it. I could drag the last name over and type in the first name. But let's say if I had 500 people on my spreadsheet, that's a lot of manual work. There's a text command called concatenate Great little command. Now, concatenate will allow you to do this. As you see, I've got a column that's got last names. And I have a column that has first names. Then I use this little concatenate. And what this formula does, if you can see right here, it says equal, takes us into the formula mode. Concat, I just kind of shortcut it to concant. Depending on, if you're using an older version of Microsoft Excel, you may have to type out concatenate completely. Then inside the parentheses, that's where I said I want to concatenate C3. If I look at C3, that is where my first name is. And B3. B3 is my last name. But now if you look at that formula, you see something I did in the middle. Like, what is that in the middle? Well, if I just do it the way that I had first done it, with just concat C3 and B3, it would have showed my last name and first name together. But I don't want that. I want it to look like this, where there's a space, because that's how we do it most of the time. So that's what I'm doing with my formula here, is I got C3, which is my first name with a comma. I do a quotation, open quotation mark, and I hit the space bar. That's just a space, close quotation mark, another comma, then B3. So what that's going to give me, now, if you also noticed, I did something a little tricky here, right? You see my columns? I got the last name, then first name. Well, what I did, though, in my formula, I pulled the first name first, C3, and then B3. So that way, when it writes over here, it puts the first name, space, last name. Great little tool. Great little tool. And this is just one of many, 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 many text formulas that you can manipulate text. If you have to add, let's say you want to add a series of zeros on the front of numbers. Or better yet, here's one. How many times have you had something and you wanted to sort by the numbers in the middle of a series of numbers? Like, let's say a social security number, and you wanted to sort on the middle two. How would you do that? Well, using a text command, you're able to tell Excel where within a string of characters you want to sort from. So it's just a plethora. Again, I love that word, plethora, of things that you can use it for. All right, let's take a look, I think, at one more. And this is a good one, dates and times. Now, I'm going to use this one we call weekday. And this is just a nifty little thing, very simple. It doesn't really mean a lot, but it looks pretty cool, I guess. But just to give you an example of what you can do with the date and time groups. All right, let's say if I want to compute the weekends from a list of dates. Let's say that we're going to be working for the next 30 days. Or better yet, let's use the COVID-19. COVID-19, that we are going to be shut down. We're going to be what they call shelter in place. We're going to shelter in place for the next 30 days. And I want to build a spreadsheet to figure out, well, in the next 30 days, what dates are going to be weekends, because I'm building a work schedule. So I don't want people coming in on the weekends. Well, we can do that pretty easy. So here is a list of dates from 2 April to 15 April. And what I did, now actually, I used two commands together here. We already talked about the if, the logical. So actually, I used the logical command along with a date command to do this. So really what I did is started up here with an if. So if weekday and I go to column A2, I want to pull from A2. Okay, and it pulls from A2. And now that little -2, when you click on that, and that's where you got to do a little research, it gives you a lot of options, meaning that you can stay weekday. If I use 2, that's going to go from Sunday to Saturday. Sunday being 0, Saturday being 6. So that's what I use that for. And so if the weekday is less than 6, then it's going to say workday. If it's greater, it's going to be weekend. So what it's saying that if I have a day, anything less than 6 is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any of the first 5, those 5 days is going to be a work day. So if 2 April falls on, is going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, it's going to print workday. So if you look down through here now, you see it automatically found which days out of this string of dates are weekends. It's 4 April, 5 April, or weekend. 11 April, 12 April, it's a weekend. Nifty little thing, nifty little tool. Now, here's what I would also do with this. If you want to really impress your boss or your coworkers or whomever it may be, I would then add some conditional formatting. Oh yeah, remember the conditional formatting? So that way, I got some nice pretty colors. So that way at my weekend, boom, they pop out there yellow. And the work days are green. And work days green because why? Go get that money. Go get that money. That's why it's green. Yellow weekend, slow it down. Slow it down. Pace yourself because next week we're going to go back and get the money again. Show me the money. So here again, I just added conditional formatting. And how I did this conditional formatting, the same way we did before, but I said that I used it to look for a word, that if a cell has the word work, I just use work, W-R-K, then it turns green. If it has the word contains the word, contains the letters, E-N-D, then color it yellow. So you see, there's a lot of things you can do, and I hope this just kind of just kind of whet your appetite a little bit so that you can start digging into these formulas. Go out and do a lot of Googling. There's YouTube videos. There's all kinds of people out there that's doing a lot of great stuff that can show you how to use Excel and how to break down these formulas. Okay, guys, listen. Week 4, again, take care of yourself. Remember, God did not give us a spirit of fear. As a matter of fact, I love this one in 1 John. 1 John 4:18 says what? There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. Have a great week 4. If you need any help or anything, reach out. We'll try to make everything happen as well as possible. Also, if you're being impacted by this shelter in place, whether you got to take care of loved ones, you got to take care of someone, also let me know so that we can work around that as well. So like I said, we're as instructors, adjunct instructors, we're really trying to be as flexible as we can as we go through this pandemic. Okay, listen, God bless you. Take care. Have a nice week.